Right then, so we are here with yet another monthly M&M, and we're going to spin the spinner of destiny while you get to listen to Megan's theme music.
Woo.
And at some point we'll put together some sort of
something out.
montagey thing of us doing stuff in the meantime. But until then, you get to watch us doing sweet FA. Let's get going.
It's M&M monthly discussions, the time of month we all go crazy for, where Mike and Megan talk about a topic. It's a podcast you simply can't ignore. Time for some popular catchphrases.
Megan, your Spider-Man 3 rant is legendary. So what did you think about that?
Yeah, it was alright. Don't like it, it's too weird.
It's not that weird though, is it? You know what? I actually quite like Star Wars.
I'm tired.
So if you want to join in the fun, tune in to M&M monthly discussions.
That's funny.
There we go. So we have got the Wheel of Destiny has decided on the topics we have been submitted from by yourselves. Thank you for everyone who has submitted. We have come to cartoons, but childhood linking with cartoons submitted by Maff. And I must say, before we delve into this, that it is absolutely sweltering in this extension. It's very, very warm where we're recording, and it's the coolest place in the house. In fact, I look really weird.
The coolest place in the house.
Very good, very good. But I look really weird, I think, on the camera. Very bright.
Yeah, the camera is making us have a nice sheen.
You've got a nice glow, but I look like almost gaunt.
I would say it's kind of
makes my
sweaty.
eyes
I feel like I need some powder on here. My forehead is shiny and oily. It's because we've both got oily skin.
Oh, well. Yeah, it's making my eyes look all sunken and stuff. But we are here to talk about your topics. That is one of the reasons. And obviously, anyone who's listening to this, if you're a patron supporter, we adore you, we love you, even more than the usual listener because you're listening to this 1 month early.
Whoa.
If you are one of the normal listeners, still hugely appreciate it, but you're listening to this 1 month late, which means that this will be coming out. I think it comes out in sort of June time for patrons, and therefore July for normies. I don't like calling them normies because that sounds derogatory, but as of listening to this, we'll probably be off going to America, I think.
Yeah.
We're either just about to be going to America to get married or not. So anyone who's listening to this is going to be the last M&M podcast that you hear if you're on the normal feed before Megan and I are married. So that's fun.
Exciting.
So, yeah, we'll be M&M B&B. So it's all good. It's my surname. Childhood cartoons. So Maff submitted this to us and then he mentioned a bit more information. So cartoons in particular, ignoring South Park, Rick and Morty, all that jazz. From when you were younger.
I mean, they're not children's cartoons.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is his submission was cartoons, but I thought I would tweak it because he asked a little bit. He said like Saturday morning cartoons specifically. So if rain it all the way back to when we were younger, can you remember what the first sort of cartoon you remember seeing?
I remember watching Johnny Bravo when I lived in Italy.
Yeah. Come on, baby.
Cartoon Network I used to watch a lot of when I was younger.
Yes, and we're 90s babies, so
yeah,
sort of late 90s, early 2000s is when we'd be watching cartoons.
Yeah, I mean, so actually, like, when I was proper young, I don't really remember because I was born in Italy and lived there till I was 4. I don't really remember much about...
I imagine they had a lot of weird cartoons.
A lot of the shows that they would have were the same as what we'd have. It was just later on.
Right.
As in, like...
In the day?
No, as in time.
Oh, so it's years later.
Yeah.
Right, so because obviously it takes time for, the licensing, but also you have to record, because especially kids' cartoons.
It'd have to be translated.
Yeah, because with adult stuff...
I remember watching The Simpsons. Simpsons was on when I was in Italy.
I remember watching Simpsons when I was in Italy, when I was a teenager. And I remember whenever you'd go away, if you could find... It was normally be Simpsons, later on Futurama, and later on than that... Well, Family Guy not so much because it's more mature. But I remember...
I've never seen Family Guy in Italy. I mean,
no,
that's not to say that it doesn't exist.
I mean, just in Europe in general.
Right.
Like I remember seeing Simpsons and stuff. So Cartoon Network, so Dexter's Lab, Johnny Bravo, Powerpuff Girls, are they sort of...
Powerpuff Girls I was obsessed with. I used to have Powerpuff Girls pajamas, bed sheets. I used to have the game on the Nintendo DS, not Nintendo DS,
Game Boy Advance.
in the Game Boy.
I had that. That was the one where you fly sideways across and you'd swap between them. And
I don't even think it was on the Game Boy Advance. I think it was on the Game Boy.
I think it was
Game Boy Color.
I think it was Game Boy Advance. There's several of the Powerpuff Girls games, just like Dexter's Lab. There was a Game Boy Advance game of Dexter's Lab, which was a DD disaster. And that was when he clones loads of DDs and you have to go around finding them all. That was cool.
It was on the Game Boy.
Let's see. because that's the one I had.
So I didn't have that one. I had this one.
Go on Images?
Can you wait a second?
Well, so you had...
I had this
just the
Powerpuff Girls Battle Hymn.
So you had Battle Hymn, and I had... Go on Images.
Stop telling me to go on the Images.
Go on Images. See, I told you those there. Mojo Jojo A Go-Go. That's the one I had.
That was also Game Boy Color.
No, there's Bad Mojo Jojo, Battle Hymn, and then Game Boy Advance was Mojo Jojo A Go-Go, and then whatever that one says.
Then I might have had a Bad Mojo Jojo.
But yeah, so there's at least 4 Powerpuff Girls games that all came out within a similar amount of time. Was yours like a fighting game then? I mean, yours was against him, who's a very interesting character.
Was a fighting game. I had this one. This is the one that I had. Yeah, I had Bad Mojo Jojo.
Right, because I had a side.
Because I recognised that picture. Yeah, I had that on the Game Boy Color.
Nice. So yeah,
you can buy it from CEX
for a $5. The thing is that with Powerpuff Girls, the main thing I remember is the villains were great. You know, Mojo Jojo. Him was the most confusing being ever. You got the Amoeba Boys who sucked. And then my favourite episode was
there was
the movie.
Those weird ones from the
swamp?
Junkyard or the swamp.
So there was the swamp, which was Fuzzy Lumpkin, who's just like an angry guy who anyone went as property.
There was like a weird little gang.
Yeah, the Amoeba Boys.
Oh, was it them? Okay.
They're the Amoeba Boys, and they're like the worst villains ever, and they always try really hard.
Most of the villains in the Powerpuff Girls weren't great.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the Amoeba Boys, the whole shtick was really trying hard to be evil, and they were just terrible at it. And then the one episode they managed to make everyone evil, they make everyone really ill because of giant amoebas. So they make everyone really, really sick, and then they're the only ones who have the cure because the illness came from them. So they agree to help people, and then they become like town heroes, even though they're the ones who caused it. But I think they didn't mean to cause it. It's weird. But my favourite Powerpuff Girls I remember is the Rowdy Rough Boys, which is like the movie, which is when I think Professor...
So they meet the boy versions.
Yeah, so I think it was that Mojo Jojo gets his hands on Professor X's recipe and basically does the opposite. So it's, sugar, spice, everything nice.
Yeah, salt.
It was like salt and like dog turds or something. It was genuinely something like that. And there's we're the Rowdy Rough Boys. And then the way
I remember that.
The way it all gets resolved, spoiler alert, is that the girls do themselves up and then kiss the boys, and then they stop being so angry. And then they become good, and then they're never mentioned ever again.
That's a 90s TV show for you.
Yeah.
I will say, right, a lot of the shows that were on when we were kids are fucking weird. Like
Johnny Bravo.
Johnny Bravo. But I don't think I'd love it if I watched it as an adult.
It depends on the episode, but it's literally a guy who basically...
Just a super misogynistic guy.
Well, not only that, but his whole shtick is getting laid, but he never says getting laid because it's meant to be a kid's show. But
also no one wants to be with him. He never gets lucky. All he wants to do is get laid. And he just gets punched.
Yeah, and he gets and he's like, here, baby, how's it going? And then just slap. And it's just all really misogynistic, but he does always get his comeuppance. So I don't know how to feel.
It was a weird era of TV programs because you had Johnny Bravo, the Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Laboratory, Cow and Chicken.
I mean, when we get into the darker side of Cartoon Network, Cow and Chicken, I Am Weasel, I Are Baboon,
oh my God, yeah.
Ren and Stimpy.
Cow and Chicken, my mum would not let me watch because she absolutely hated it. The devil in that
when he walks in his
would walk on his bum cheeks. It's so fucking weird. There were some proper weird shows on Cartoon Network.
Yeah, Cow and Chicken was off the wall crazy.
Cow and Chicken was the weirdest. There was also Cat Dog. That was pretty weird.
Cat Dog, even when I was a kid, I was like, how do they put...
that dog, Curious the Cowardly Dog. Courage the Cowardly Dog. That was absolutely terrifying.
That was a horror show for kids. That was an amazing show.
That's probably one of the earliest TV... I remember watching that with my brother when we were younger. A lot of the shows we would watch were on Cartoon Network as well.
Yeah.
There was also a program, I don't know if it was Cartoon Network, and I'm pretty sure Davin and I watched it in Italy. It was called Mucho Lucho.
Yeah, the wrestlers.
Yeah, the luchadores. I never saw it in the UK. I only ever saw it in Italy.
So there's a few Cartoon Network shows that I caught a bit of because so there was the era of the Dexter's Lab, Johnny Bravo, etc. They were a period when we were growing up. Then slightly after that, you had Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
I did watch that as well.
Mucho Lucho, Fillmore on the Disney Channel.
See, I didn't get Disney Channel until late.
We got Disney Channel because we would have it intermittently because Dad watched the Speedway and you could watch that on Sky. So what he would do is order the Sky package, use the sports for whenever the season of Speedway was on, and then he would cancel it. And then when he'd go back to do it, he would basically try and get a deal with Sky to essentially get all the kids' stuff and everything else free because the sports package cost more money than all the other packages put together aside from movies and cartoons.
Wow.
So he would always just do that. And then when they were doing deals for new customers, he was like, well, I've been a customer of yours, for years. The only reason I cancel is because you won't let me freeze my account. So I literally have to cancel the sports thing. And he would always go on there and say, look, I'm either going to go to Virgin or I'm going to go to you. You both have the same thing. It's both relatively the same price. I just have a Sky box that's more convenient. Either upgrade it to Sky HD for free like you're doing with everyone else, or I'll move to Virgin. And every time he managed to get some sort of deal. Because he's a businessman.
I don't think my mum ever paid for Disney Disney Channel rather. I think it just happened to become free on Freeview.
I think it does eventually, because I think they realised, because it adverts anyway. Freeview as well.
We didn't have Sky. We didn't have Sky.
I only got Sky.
We weren't fancy.
I only got Sky when Dad, after a year or two of Dad running his own company, and when he actually started making money. But the first 10 years or so. We had Freeview. Disney Channel came onto that. We had it for High School Musical, so we had it by 2006. The important years. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of weird shows, because then Nickelodeon, you've got a lot of variation there. We've got SpongeBob SquarePants, classic, which Megan isn't a fan of. Then we've got Fairly Odd Parents, which is another classic.
I loved Fairly Odd Parents.
It's so weird you hate one and not the other. I think Fairly Odd is... It's weirder and less weird. It's like more obviously weird.
I don't like SpongeBob, not because it's weird. I just find all of the characters irritating. And even then, it's not like I don't like SpongeBob. Like, I don't mind the odd episode, but you'll be like, oh, no, you haven't seen the good ones. I'm like, I think you fucking find that I have. You'll be like, oh, I'll show you this really good one. I'm like, yes, and I've seen it. And all of the episodes that you find hilarious, I find really irritating because I've seen them so many times. Like that stupid one where he ends up in the rock in the hard place. That episode I've seen so...
Rock bottom.
Yeah.
That's because
I've seen that episode so many times.
So have I, and to be fair, the reason for that is because when SpongeBob came out, the pilot episode... So it was always... With SpongeBob, just like many other shows, it was actually 2 10 to 15 minute or 10 to 12 minute episodes. So when you've got the half-hour slot, you've got episode adds episode. So with SpongeBob, the first episode is called Help Wanted, and that's when he gets the job at the Krusty Krab. The second part of that is when he meets Sandy Cheeks. Those 2 episodes weren't actually on very much because it was a pilot and the animation quality and all of it was just worse. So the kind of real first episode after the pilot was when he goes to Rock Bottom.
I just think that episode
I think it's funny, but it's so irritating.
Well, this is why I don't like it.
Why do you speak with such a strange accent?
Please don't start.
And then the bit where he's grabbing the candy bar out of the vending machine, and as he reaches for it, he hears the bus on the other side of the road's engine go, and he's like, I want the candy bar, but the bus is leaving.
It's just too silly for me. I find SpongeBob really irritating, and I was like that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I never really fully gelled with SpongeBob SquarePants.
Well, normally it's when you're a kid you gel with SpongeBob, when you're an adult you gel with Squidward. That's generally how it is.
No, I just
but there are some people who gel.
Everyone's insufferable.
Yeah, they are pretty unbearable. But what I was going to say is Fairly Odd Parents. You bloody love that. Did you watch the crossovers with Jimmy Neutron, where some of them went 3D and 2D and stuff?
I think so. I did watch Jimmy Neutron. I hated
Jimmy Neutron.
So I can't really remember. I definitely watched Cartoon Network more than I watched Nickelodeon, especially when it came to cartoons. But then there were Nickelodeon shows that weren't cartoons that I did watch.
iCarly, stuff like that.
I didn't really get into iCarly. Was past our
Drake and Josh.
Point. Drake and Josh I watched.
Yeah.
There was a show called Unfabulous, I think, which is where
Ariana Grande?
Nope. Ariana Grande is considerably younger than Emma Roberts. Ariana Grande was in a show called... What's it called?
Did I someone's name in it? In the middle of it?
No, Victorious, I think it was called.
Right.
I never watched that. Again, that was past the point that I would have been watching shows like that.
Yeah.
So I used to watch a show, I think it was called Unfabulous, and Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide.
I remember Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. That was a great show. That was really meta and clever. A lot of the jokes in it were really good. Yeah, I love that show. Yeah, I didn't like as much live action stuff on Disney and
Disney I used to watch a lot of live action
stuff. Was
that
So Raven, which I hated, but I used to occasionally watch it. Zack and Cody, which was great, but then you watch it now and you're like, oh, this is horrendous. This is like borderline unwatchable.
Hannah Montana.
Never really watched that. Wasn't fussed on that.
Incorrect, but sure.
I'll tell you what, one of the cartoons that I know a lot of our listeners, especially the Comics in Motion family, will enjoy, X-Men the Animated Series. Yeah, Megan's not seen it. I will show. I will show it to her.
I must have seen the odd episode. I'm sure Davin watched it.
Yeah.
That's my brother. And also, I do distinctly remember seeing Spider-Man on TV at points.
There's the 60s.
Maybe Batman too.
Yeah. So the three,
because I think cartoons like that were very popular in Italy.
The three of before so there's the four main cartoons that came out that were massive for comic books. Okay, now there were some in the 60s. There's a 60s Spider-Man one, which is cool, bit cheesy. That's where the meme is, where he points to himself. I think maybe 80s actually, that one. But then sort of 90s is when you've got the Batman animated series, which is held as the best Batman ever with Kevin Conroy. You've got The Adventures of Superman, or Superman and Lois Lane. You've got X-Men the animated series, and you've got Spider-Man. Now there were some other ones as well, but those four, because of the popularity of obviously the Superman movies in the 70s, then Batman in the 80s, and then Spider-Man in the early 2000s, because of those kind of dotted around and X-Men in the early 2000s, the cartoons really paved the way for superhero movies. Mm-hmm. They had so much appeal to them. And the X-Men animated series, I always remember when I'd see it was on it later in the day, this is, back in the days before streaming, it was like, I have to make sure I get home to watch it.
Yeah, when you had to make sure you were watching it live or else you missed it.
Well, and I would watch the X-Men animated series. I get so excited if I was there before the episode starts because the starting theme is so cool, and I think it's the coolest starting theme of anything ever. But the problem is, I've seen random episodes, but I haven't. But the plot of the X-Men animated series, for the most part, is continuous. It's generally, it's got kind of arcs per thing or arcs within. And I'd watch it, and I'm like, I've seen one episode with the Sentinels. I saw one which was Magneto was the big bad, and he was trying to end the world. And then the next episode I watched was like some episode about Rogue.
Well, yeah, because once shows had come out, unless they were coming out like weekly on a certain day, they would just play random repeats.
Yeah.
So there are like some episodes that I've seen way more than other things, just because by chance it's always the same one that's been on TV. It's like there's certain episodes of Friends. Like I know that's not a cartoon.
That's what I was like. Yeah.
There's certain episodes of Friends that I have seen way more than others because they just happen to be the ones that were playing on TV.
Same with me in Scrubs and Big Bang Theory. I've never seen Scrubs all the way, but I've seen enough of it to know. It's weird though, isn't it? Because back that was especially if you couldn't get hold of the VHS or the DVD at the time. There was no real way to watch some of these things. And some of the shows would only air in the UK like once. And it was like, if you missed it... Yeah. And that's why I think a lot of shows like SpongeBob, Fairly Parents, etc., there's no continuity. Because when you have continuity, if you miss an episode, you're just absolutely screwed.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably why. But I have fond memories of it. I mean, one thing I remember, there's not a cartoon, but I think you used to watch as well, which is, was it Fraggle Rock or the... There's a puppet show you watched with Jill once or twice. It was on like Hoobs. The Hoobs. Because there's Tweenies, the Hoobs, Fraggle Rock.
Right, so the Hoobs is a very young kids TV show.
Yeah. But that's what I remember watching.
I used to wake up
at like 5 a.m, wasn't it?
It used to be on at like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning.
Sometimes, yeah.
It used to be on at like 5 or 6 in the morning, and I used to wake I've always been an early bird. I think it was maybe when I was at college that I was the first time in my life that I'd ever have to set an alarm.
Yeah.
So when I was at secondary school, my mum would wake up before me because she had work and she would go to work and I would just have to get myself to school. And I never set an alarm because I knew that I would wake up. I literally would wake up in my life, without fail.
Never been able to do that.
But I used to wake up. I can't remember what time the Hoobs was on.
It wasn't.
It used to be on like Channel 5 or something.
Yeah,
it was like the shit channel.
Don't say that. Channel 5 Thursday.
Milkshake was on
Thursday. Breaking Bad. Channel 5.
Did it?
That was the
Channel 5 had Breaking Bad.
When the first series of Breaking Bad was playing over in America,
who fucking watches Channel 5?
People clearly, but because I've got the DVDs of Breaking Bad, and I bought the first 3 seasons in HMV, and on the first season, it's got Channel 5 because they distributed it. Because I can't remember the name of the network in America that had it, but it wasn't very popular at all. And then around series 2 or 3, when I think Love Film over here, which was Netflix in America, when the DVD sending service became streaming, Breaking Bad got on Netflix, and that's how it blew up. And I know that because that Bryan Cranston Office Ladies interview.
That's mental. I didn't realise it was Channel 5. So I think the Hoobs. I can't remember if it was on Channel 5. I definitely used to watch some stuff that was on Channel 5 because I used to watch Milkshake before school.
I remember Milkshake existing. I basically, unless I had
Milkshake was like one of those programs where I don't know if this is a thing in the States because we had stuff like that. We had Dig It. And a lot of people don't.
Blue Peter
a lot of people don't remember Dig It.
Is it like Blue Peter?
No, it's not like Blue Peter because it would be a set period of time, and they would have like a presenter and they would do little bits, but then they would be like, now it's time for Kim Possible, for example.
Oh.
And then it would be like, here's some activities that we're going to do, and now it's time for this program.
I think I might be wrong. I think that started in America.
Oh, really?
It's basically there's a presenter introducing things, isn't there?
Yeah, it's like daytime television.
It's like a 2-hour slot of Milkshake, and then it's here's one episode of Kim Possible, here's one episode of that.
On Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings, there used to be Dig It.
There's Ministry of Mayhem as well.
Anyway, I can't remember what we were saying.
That used to get up really early and watch Milkshake.
Oh yeah, I used to watch Hoops. Hubba, hubba,
so it was one of those. It was one of the puppet things because obviously.
And Roma somewhere far away.
Yeah, we don't need the whole song.
Bit rude, but okay.
The thing is with puppet stuff, which obviously
everyone
is not
that's watching
animated.
this, you can see that my face is very unhappy right now.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm fuming.
Please comment. Did you want Megan to finish the Hoob song? A song from a puppet show, a UK puppet show, but not Sesame Street or Muppets.
It was UK, yeah.
Or Fraggle Rock. It was like lower and lower. Fraggle Rock's more well known than the Hoobs. I think Fraggle Rock was American.
Yeah, well, that'll be why.
Yeah.
The Hoobs was definitely. I fucking hated the Moomins.
Oh,
they used to creep me out.
The puppets or the cartoon?
The cartoon.
Really?
I don't recall liking them.
I love them. They're cute.
I found them creepy, and there's like a massive shop dedicated to the Moomins in London, in like I can't remember where.
Yeah.
But there's like shops fully dedicated to the Moomins.
I think it's Finland is where they originated. So there's like whole things.
I was going to look something up, and I can't remember what we were talking about. The Who's.
Moomins.
I wasn't going to Google the Moomins.
Oh, Fraggle Rock is what
Fraggle Rock. I don't know what that is, yeah.
Well, it's not a cartoon, so it's technically a tangent. But the thing is I loved cartoons when I was younger. I still obviously love cartoons and stuff now. But it's a great way when you have superhero stuff. Like, that's why I think...
Yeah, I don't think I watched that.
No, I think the tables are kind of looping back around to go back into animation more, especially the success of X-Men 97. Because they're like, we don't need to rely on actors. We rely on voice actors, which is a different thing and it is still really difficult. But... we can make all the characters look however we want, so we don't have to worry about any controversy regarding that. We don't have to worry about budget in the same way, because as long as you animate it well, animating, an army of 1,000 from an aerial view is much easier than animating something in CGI to make it look real. It's so much easier just to have everything in the same kind of yield.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see, especially with Marvel and stuff, I think they're going to realise that it probably is just cheaper and easier to start making more animated stuff and less live action stuff. It's quicker, it's easier, and also if you have an error and something messes up, you can adjust it there. Whereas obviously if you're filming live action and you need to reshoot stuff, you have to get the actor back in and all the people, blah, make sure everyone has the same haircut they had. Ed, Edd and Eddy.
Yeah,
Ed, Edd and Eddy. That was a weird show.
Ed and Eddy.
You used to like that?
Yeah, I used to watch Ed and Eddy.
I thought too weird for you with the jawbreakers and stuff, and they're always dribbling when they're eating jawbreakers.
Yeah, and that guy that had Plank.
Johnny.
Yeah.
And Plank was like a psychopath almost character.
It was just, it was.
But there was episodes where Plank would seemingly do stuff, and you never really knew.
You would never see Plank do anything because it literally was just a plank. But then he would do so. I've just looked up the best shows of the 90s and noughties. Well, I couldn't remember it. How is it cheating?
Cheating.
So top is the Amanda Show, which is not a cartoon, but I did watch that. Then Ed, and Eddy, which I did watch.
I can't believe that's about SpongeBob, but the ratings are low. This doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense
because the SpongeBob has more ratings and it's higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's Ed, and Eddy, SpongeBob Pokemon. I used to watch with my brother, and then we rewatched it. Me and my two housemates.
You watched the Johto ones, didn't you?
No, we watched the original.
The OG.
Yeah, it was on Netflix.
God, some of that's rough.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty rough.
Yeah. No,
but that's the anime.
No, we went straight from the beginning.
But they have the anime tropes in that you hate, which is when people are embarrassed, they fall back and their legs go.
Yeah.
So how do you like that, but you won't watch anime that's good that has that in there?
What? I don't like...
You hate that trope, which is really...
The main thing that I don't like it is... If they're speaking, it's different. The main reason that I don't like shit like that is when in Breath of the Wild, you're reading the dialogue and then you've got a character that's like...
No.
Hey, boom!
Yeah, but I'm saying...
Why
but in normal anime, you have characters that have dialogue. But you say you don't like some of the weird tropey stuff about anime, which is, I agree, the over-exaggerated facial expressions.
Nostalgia, I like Pokemon.
Okay, you don't properly...
I don't watch the first series of Pokemon, the Indigo League, and be like, oh, this is a fantastic specimen of cartoons.
Did you watch Digimon?
Digimon, Digigo Masters, something in the
Digital monsters. Like Digimon, digital monsters, Pokemon, pocket monsters.
To answer your question, yes, I did watch Digimon.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
Oh, there's a third. It was like, so you got Pokemon, and then Digimon basically copied Pokemon, and then something copied Digimon.
Yeah, there was something similar to Digimon, and I can't remember what it was.
I can't remember.
We did watch Digimon.
Yeah.
But like I remember the theme tune, but I couldn't tell you anything.
I remember having that. I had like a little Tamagotchi Digimon-y thing. I remember thinking the transformations were cooler than the evolutions. But Dragon Ball Z.
I never watched it.
So
It was on a lot in Italy. My cousins used to watch Dragon Ball Z.
The thing is, Dragon Ball Z, I wouldn't get you to watch it now. Not that you would. But the thing is Dragon Ball Z was phenomenal. But the problem was what they did is, because this is what happens with a lot of anime. The manga's being written, and the anime, because Americans do this quite a lot as well, which is they're making stuff while things are being written. But some manga lasts decades. So what they'll do is they'll be like, right, we'll do a show, and we'll try and kind of make it be made at the same pace that manga is, and it's just a couple seasons behind. But then often the anime gets more popular, it catches up, whatever. And so Dragon Ball Z, what they kept doing is they kept having like flashback episodes, but it wasn't one flashback episode. It was an entire arc in a flashback. Oh, so you would have it, and they basically cut all this when they redid it.
I bloody hate episodes where they just do flashbacks.
I tell you what,
there's a few Friends episodes where they just do flashbacks.
No, but it's not just
no,
flashbacks.
I understand what you're saying.
No, I'm saying I'm agreeing with you.
Can you stop tickling me?
It is bad. But what's worse in Dragon Ball Z is you've got like this big monster thing they're fighting, the big boss of the season, and they finally fight it, and they're all powered up, and they go, I'm going to get you, Cell. And then it goes, one of the people in the crowd just watching then goes, what about that time that this... And then it's 3 episodes about something completely unrelated after you've got hyped up. And there's other times where Reese and I have called it like almost power porn, where the characters in Dragon Ball Z become so unfathomably powerful, you can't even comprehend. Like, they charge up their power by yelling and all that stuff, and their muscles all go big, and powers around them, and then, like, things around them start, like, breaking just being in the vicinity of them. And it becomes so ridiculous at points. You're like, you could just destroy a planet, and by the second main villain, they do destroy planets, and you're like, where can this go? But there'll be times where you'd be like, I'm going to power up and fight you, and the whole episode is literally someone going, ah, poof, and beefing up. And then the other person going, ah, and beefing up. And then it cutting to someone somewhere else just having like a really normal conversation, and then cuts back to them.
Yeah, that's why I don't like stuff like that.
Whole episodes. And what they did is they released something called Dragon Ball Kai about a decade ago. And they redid all the audio. They remastered it. They redid some of the fighting animation. And then they basically cut out a third of all episodes to make it a more coherent story without the flashbacks, and it works so much better. It's really good. I've watched most of Dragon Ball Kai, but you just think, you make a show and you can redo it and you cut out genuinely a third of the episodes. There's like 250 odd episodes, a whole third, and it makes it more cohesive and make more sense.
Dragon Ball Z has
277. So Dragon Ball Kai it's not as many. There's like a prologue-y bit and an epilogue-y bit, but Dragon Ball Kai is like the main bits. But it cuts out so much of certain sagas, and it works way better.
I never was fussed by it.
I used to watch that with my brother Rob. Him and I bonded on Dragon Ball Z, and the Dragon Ball Z games are sick as well. I don't even know if Davin watched Dragon Ball Z.
I don't recall it being on in our house. I remember seeing it on in Italy, but it was obviously in Italian.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever watched it in English.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a good show, but and then there's Rugrats. We're not going to go for the whole.
No, but it's just helping me remember Rugrats. I bloody loved. Rugrats was fantastic. The films were fantastic.
Yeah, both of them.
I remember. So in my school, they did like a movie night. Oh, I mean, a movie night. Like it would have been a movie afternoon. Because I was like, what? It was primary school, junior. It might have even been. It might have even been infants.
So in the UK, guys, infant school is reception, which is kindergarten, year 1 and year 2, and that's being 4 to 5, 5 to 6,
even then
6 to 7.
Even then within the UK it changes because because I went to an infant school and a primary school,
right? Whereas
some people only go to I went to an infant school and a junior school, whereas some people go to a primary school, which is both of them together. I went to 4 separate schools because I had infants, junior, secondary, college.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I must have been like 7, younger than 7.
Yeah.
And they set the hall up, and we watched the Rugrats movie, and the Rugrats movie is phenomenal. Like it's so good. And then there's the Rugrats Go to Paris,
the second one,
which is the second movie.
Kimmy.
Yeah, and then they brought out a game for Rugrats in Paris, which I had on the
PlayStation.
Nope, I had it on the Nintendo 64.
Because I
had the cartridge.
Because I had the game of the one that I think was after that on the PlayStation 1, and it was about Reptar's Revenge. And you walk around. I know a couple of people have played. I spoke about this with Reese. And he was, oh my god, I forgot about that game. Guys, the Rugrats game, if you remember it at all, with Reptar, there's bits where Chucky is being chased by a goose, and you have to run through a maze away from it. But there's another thing where you walk through mirrors, and you go into the mirror world, and whatever level you're in, you'd be walking on the ceiling, and everything would be like mirrored.
I hate that.
And you have to walk around on the ceiling getting balloons, and you get a certain amount, you get like a power-up or something. Mm-hmm. And it was quite a well thought out game. I imagine if I played it now, it'd suck.
See, Rugrats in Paris was really good because you had different locations, and you would do different, games. And I remember there was one that was like a mini golf one. There was one where I think you were Chucky and you had to karate chop what's the word?
Anthropomorphic.
When things come alive.
Anthropomorphic.
Planks.
Oh, okay.
So they kind of in Fantasia where all of the mops come to life.
They kind of walk.
It was like planks that came to life and they walked and you had to karate chop them.
I think what I liked about the Rugrats movie, the second one especially, was that I couldn't name Kids Next Door. That was great. Slow down.
I never watched that.
Slow down.
I don't know what that is.
We're nearing the end of the half an hour, so we don't want to go through the entire list.
Sorry, I'm just looking.
Sass, mate. What I liked about the Rugrats second movie is that Chucky and his dad. His dad was a single dad, and I think his mum passed away when he was a baby, and it's quite dark.
I think Chucky's mum passed away.
And they sprinkle it in a little bit. And then Chucky's dad, all he does is want to make Chucky happy, and he tries his best, but he's alone. And then in that film, it really shows how actually quite depressed he is. And it's this is, when you're really, really young, you don't quite grasp it, but if you're sort of 10-ish and older, you do pick up bits. And then when he meets Kimmy's mum, and they get married and stuff, and he's so much happier, and then Chucky gets a stepsister, and then it's stepsister, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because with Rugrats, it basically works. The way Rugrats worked, I believe there was almost 3 batches of seasons. I think there was more than 3 seasons, but it was pre the movie, post the movie, and then post the second movie, because there were whole seasons with Kimmy in them. And I remember those quite well.
Yeah, and then they also came out with a spin-off where they were all they were at secondary school. They were
sucked.
I watched it.
I watched a bit of it.
I can't remember was it still on Nickelodeon?
Yeah. I mean, they've rebooted Rugrats as well, I think.
Have they actually?
I think so. It's all 3D.
I want to watch the Rugrats movie now.
I do not. That can be one of your picks because I think it's not as good as you remember.
There's 9 seasons of Rugrats.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, with cartoons, it's one of those things that I'm looking forward to when we eventually have kids.
I remember having an Angelica. I had an Angelica outfit.
Why? She's the worst.
Well, I had...
The coolest was it Lizzie, the girl with braces?
Lizzie?
Not Lizzie.
There was Lil and Phil.
There was Lil and Phil. There was the...
Dill. Pickle.
What? All of Lil, Phil, Dill, it was their parents were called the same as... There was Lil, Phil, Dill and something else.
Yeah, then there was Chucky.
There's Chucky. Tommy.
What was the little brother called? The baby?
I can't remember. He was in the second season because he gets born in the first movie. So that's what I mean is first season is that they're the youngest, then there's another younger one, and then Kimmy comes into it. But it was...
Yeah, he's Dill. That's why I said Dill.
Oh, so he's called... Oh, right,
he's called Dylan, he's called Dill Pickles. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's why I said Dill Pickles. I was right.
Oh,
he looked at me as if I was crazy.
No, I didn't. I agreed with you. I literally agreed.
Why are you yelling? Look at this abuse. Listen to this abuse that I have to put up with everyone.
But yeah, I mean, I think... Because there's certain cartoons, there's cartoons that we've seen. Because did you ever watch Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends?
I did, yes.
No, I really liked that.
That's one of the last shows that I would have watched.
You get shows like that, and then that was kind of in the in-between. Then you get shows like Chowder, which was kind of the new generation SpongeBob. It was Cartoon Network's kind of SpongeBob.
Ben 10 came out around that time as well, but I never watched that.
I couldn't stand that show. The thing is that there were certain shows, because like Avatar The Last Airbender and things like that, where there were shows that were kind of American, kind of anime-inspired stuff. And it was action-y and monsters and crazy stuff. But I never really clicked with any of them.
I never got into
I liked
Avatar
either
The Last Airbender.
So off the wall it didn't make any sense, like SpongeBob or Fairly Odd Parents.
Or Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball Z is kind of different. I didn't really watch any anime apart from Dragon Ball Z for years.
And Pokemon.
I didn't really watch Pokemon that much.
You didn't?
I played the games religiously, and then I was like, these games are great.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yes, I used to watch.
That's the other one that I was trying to think of. I was trying to think of the cards.
If you said cards, I just told you.
There was Pokemon, Digimon, and Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah. I did watch the first few seasons of Yu-Gi-Oh, but that is cringe. You watch that now, the dialogue is awful.
I don't remember. I don't know if I watched Yu-Gi-Oh.
I proper did, because I got into buying the Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
So I
and the Pokemon cards.
We had Pokemon cards and we did have Yu-Gi-Oh cards, so we must have watched Yu-Gi-Oh, but I don't remember the theme tune. I think we've had this conversation before.
We have somewhere, yeah. It was the Yu-Gi-Oh American theme tune was awful. It was... It's time to duel, and then it was it was like that kind of like orchestrally almost stuff.
It rings a bell.
Yeah, and there's like Pegasus and Kaiba and people like that. Yeah, but there's a lot of cool shows, and I have fond memories of a lot of the cartoons when I was younger. And certain random bits just really stick out, like certain random episodes. Like there's a SpongeBob episode that's all singing, and there's
a Dexter's Lab episode where it's all singing as well.
I like the Dexter's Lab episode where he grows the beard, and he's got that, and because he wants to be a man.
Do you know what? It's really weird because I watched Dexter's Lab so much, but aside from the musical episode, and even then, I couldn't tell you what happens in it.
Yeah.
I've probably seen all of Dexter's Laboratory, but I couldn't tell you what happens in a single episode apart from Dee Dee tries to get into the lab.
What about Mandark?
I remember Mandark. I remember the evil one. Well, like the one.
Did you watch the movie where he goes in time and he meets the older versions of himself?
I must have done. I'm pretty sure
amazing.
I did. I just don't remember them. Like I remember seeing Mew vs. Mewtwo at the cinema as well.
Yeah. Did you ever watch? I remember seeing that in the cinema, and my
dad fell asleep and started snoring.
My dad did the exact same thing. Exactly. He fell asleep within about 2 minutes. What's funny is there's a song called Johnny Test. Do you ever watch that? No. It was kind of the spiritual successor to Dexter's Lab. It wasn't the same universe, but it was that kind of vibe.
No.
It was almost like Ben 10 mixed with
I never watched Ben 10, so I don't know what that is.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a good time. Cartoon Network had some incredible shows.
Yeah, in comparison to the things that they've got now, we had much better TV.
We're getting into boomer language here.
I don't care. I'm old. I'm old.
I say every generation says that their stuff is better than the projects.
Our stuff
every
is better.
generation seems to think their music is the best, and it's not.
The thing
Everyone
is,
thinks that their TV shows are the best, or their movies are the best.
I disagree. I think our TV shows were weird. We were on the cusp of things turning less weird. I think.
Do you know why?
Because what? Well, because everyone else was on drugs.
That is literally...
if you look at the Magic Roundabout, that's fucked.
Well, the 80s was when everything was crazy off the wall, but that was action-y stuff, because that was like Biker Mice from Mars.
Oh, Biker Mice from Mars.
And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
We used to have a board game of Biker...
They're redoing that.
This is what I mean. So a lot of the shows that we watched when we were younger, especially when we were growing up in Italy, were older TV shows. Yeah. This is why I've seen, like, Mike takes the mick out of me because I always talk about Jessica Fletcher and Angela Lansbury. I've watched a lot of Murder, She Wrote because it was reruns on in Italy.
Yeah.
So, like, Biker Mice from Mars...
Is Angela Lansbury in that? She's not. I'm joking. I know she's not in that. But she is in The Last Unicorn, which Brian, one of the patrons...
But Biker Mice from Mars, a lot of people that are our age, when I talk to them, have never heard of it.
Really?
Yeah.
I've only seen the odd episode.
I never saw it in the UK. I never watched it in Italy. But Davin had a board game that was Biker Mice from Mars.
Really?
Yeah, like an actual board game.
Okay.
I think anyway, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, there are... I mean, certain board games, it almost is... It's almost irrelevant what the theme is, almost, because, like, most of it...
No, I say Biker Mice from Mars came out in 1993, so it is our generation.
Yeah. Well, I knew it was our generation, but obviously when we were born the year after it came out, and it was only on for 3 seasons, so it was only properly about for a few years, so we were coming into it when it was the end.
There's the board game.
Take Back, what was it?
Take Back the City.
How much is it worth?
I don't know, but the rating for it is 3.4 out of 10.
Oh, that's not good. And on other websites, it's pretty low as well. So not the best. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where...
You can buy it for £28.38 on eBay.
I mean, at one point, what was it 3.8 out of 10 or something? That's probably...
But it's the Mexican version.
Well, you can read that, though, can't you?
Yeah, I could.
You could read the Mexican version. I, however, could not. But yeah, I mean, it was just I think it was because of drugs, because I think what was happening is a lot in the 80s it was all cocaine and everything was fueled there, and then the 90s things to kind of teeter out a little bit, and I think, actual like regulations came in to stop people kind of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, this makes sense because my mum used to watch the Magic Roundabout, and that came out. It's 1964.
Well, the original. I mean, they've had one since then, haven't they?
Yeah.
I was going to say, because I remember bits and pieces about that.
Well, no, so it ran from 1964 to 1977.
Right. That's, how many years?
1964 to 1977.
God, that's 13 years. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good amount.
Because then there was also the Clangers, the Flower Pot Men.
The Clangers and the Bill and Ted the Flower Pot Men. I remember
they made another version of the Flower Pot Men that was our age.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because the original Flower Pot Men were creepy looking.
I mean, the ones in the remake.
And they were in black and white as well.
Oh, it was a black.
Look at those fuckers.
Oh my god, that is absolute. Show the camera.
Yeah. When I say the original Flower Pot Men, they are absolutely terrifying. They're not. Oh gosh, what am I doing? The versions that we remember were like cutesy and animated. They're fucking terrifying.
That's
just that's nightmares.
That's the kind of thing which is like in an old film when it goes the family would disappear without a trace, and the only thing left were the flower.
Well, they were puppets. These ones that came out in 1952. Bill and Ben, the Flower.
Well, that explains why it was in black and white. Well, that's the thing is like, I remember watching because I remember the ones that was I think even when I was sort of even a teenager.
Oh, the Magic School Bus.
I don't think I remember seeing
that. Hooray for the Magic School Bus. The Magic School Bus was a fantastic show.
Oh, that's an American one. That's where the teacher was like, she could do anything.
The teacher's
she was like bench press loads of money.
The teacher's so quirky, and she takes these kids on really cool like school trips, but they're always fucking mental. The Magic School Bus is obviously magic, so it can like squish into tiny little spaces.
It becomes miniature.
It can become minuscule. There's an episode where it shrinks down and they go in someone's body.
Yeah,
there's an episode where they go inside of a volcano. I fucking loved the Magic School Bus. That show was phenomenal.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, it's one of those. It's a great show. All these different things. They're great shows. I mean, Megan's now gone down like a nostalgia trip. What
was that show? And I always do this. And I always forget what the show was, and I always am like, the song gets stuck in my head. So there's the Poddington Peas.
Oh, for Christ's sake, yes.
I used to watch the Poddington Peas. And then there was it the Lamb Peas?
I don't know. I know the Clangers. I don't know.
The Lamb Peas I used to watch. They were like... But again, this is all very niche. A lot of these are British shows. The Lamb Peas were like these people that lived inside of lamps. They lived inside.
I feel like I know that.
We've had this conversation before because the Lampies comes into my brain quite frequently. These are the Lampies. They were like these weird little characters that lives inside of the street lamps.
I think you showed me the first episode or something nuts, didn't you? Once
the Poddington Peas.
Oh God, yeah. No, I'm good.
I don't know why I've seen so many episodes of the Poddington Peas because that came out in 1989.
It must have been the Italian thing.
I don't think I watched it in Italy because I know the theme tune in English.
That is weird.
Anyway.
No, it's one of those things where there's lots of crazy stuff when we're younger. I mean, but did you, just to go back, the Clangers, did you ever watch the Clangers? The Wombles, but I think they were like stop motion, so not really cartoons.
The Wombles that live in Wimbledon Common.
Yeah. I don't know.
I have seen the Clangers, but I don't think it was something that I particularly watched per se. The Wombles, I feel like my brother watched the Wombles more than I did. Again, this is very like niche British shows.
Yeah,
the Wombles lived on Wimbledon Common. They cleaned up Wimbledon Common, and Wimbledon Common is just a random park in Wimbledon in London. So. Yeah. Davin used to think that there were really Wombles that lived in Wimbledon Common.
That's because your brother's an idiot. No, he's not. He's a lovely chap. I think that's...
You can still be lovely and an idiot, but sure.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Like you. You're a lovely idiot, aren't you?
Rude. Right.
How dare you?
What?
Call me rude?
Well, you just called me an idiot.
You are an idiot. That's the truth here.
I forget about some shows. The Magic School Bus was a great show.
Yeah. I can't remember enough about the Magic School Bus to really...
Hooray for the Magic School Bus.
Pardon?
Hooray for the Magic School Bus.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we're hitting the bedrock now. So, thank you to all the wonderful patron supporters.
Wait, one more.
Oh my God.
Did you ever watch Babar?
What?
So this is a show that I did watch in Italy, so I don't actually know how you pronounce it in English.
Right.
It's the elephant. Barbar? Do you call it Barbar in English?
You're not talking about like Elmer, the colourful one.
No, I'm not talking about Elmo.
Not Elmo. Elmer, the colourful elephant.
No, I'm talking about...
Tell me Barbar Italian cartoon.
No, it's not an Italian cartoon. Babar.
Yeah, that's just... Everyone knows him.
Yeah, okay.
He's just a very common... Show the... Yeah, there, show that.
So I don't know. I used to watch that in Italy.
Well, it's because I think it started as a kid's book. So I think...
I used to watch that a lot when I was younger.
Cool. Well, we are overrunning. Not that it's bad for the patrons, because they love extra content they're paying for. But we will wrap this up because we've hit the bedrock of cartoons.
It was French.
Cool. Friends, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I'm just going to do the roll call of honour, which is what I think some other podcast calls it. It might even be VHS Strikes Back, so sorry guys, stealing that. But thank you to my wonderful Patreon supporters. Obviously, all supporters on Patreon heard this 1 month early, and you get loads of other bonus stuff, like myself and Megan record a podcast every week called Afterthoughts, and that's where we review TV shows, movies, all kinds of different stuff. We've been watching a lot of stuff recently, and I normally go to the cinema, watch things there. So if you want to hear our thoughts there, all the episodes are like 10-15 minutes. They're quite easy listening. A lot of people just batch them together and then just blitz listening to us talk about them for ages. But even if you
sucked into a
please don't
a cartoon wormhole.
So even if you only support us on Patreon, that's patreon.com/genuine chit-chat. For £1 a month, you get immediate access to the entire feed. You can put that on Spotify, any podcast app you want, even the Patreon app, and you get instant access to 240 episodes of Afterthoughts, and there's one new one every week. Sometimes there's 2 new ones. So hours and hours of additional content. You get way more from Megan, because she's in the vast majority of those Afterthoughts, and you get 1 month early of monthly M&M, and you get to support the show, which is one of the reasons I got to afford a better camera, why I've got a better recorder, and also why my laptop, when it died a couple of years ago, I could afford that. So thank you to the wonderful patrons. I'm just going to read them out quickly. So thank you to Ria, Maff, Brett, Scott. I always have to pause. I need to change the order because Brett Scott is his name. And then the next person is Scott Weatherly. So Brett, Scott, Spider Dan, Dave, Brian, Tonya, James, Margaret, Frank and Tony. So thank you so much to all of you for supporting as always. Hugely appreciate it. Couldn't do it without you. And I think that's going to be enough from us. So thanks again. Please tell us about your cartoons. Are there any we missed?
Noddy.
I mean, I think Noddy, I remember that being 3D animated, to be honest. But
still
yeah, I mean, when you go down that road, you're going to start talking about Postman Pat and Bob the Builder, which we're not doing. We're not going to talk about those. That if you want to hear more about us talk about other childhood stuff, guys, send some topics. Send some topics in. When you get Megan.
Little bear.
Okay, please. Please stop. Guys, you need to submit some topics so that you get Megan this excited to talk about.
I really enjoyed
stuff.
this one.
I thought you would, yeah. But it's the spinny wheel of destiny, so we can't choose. But the more you guys submit, the more there is to choose from, the more crazy topics we'll have. But thank you so much for supporting. Thanks to all the wonderful Patreon supporters. And we will speak to you very soon.
Bye.